Something exciting is happening in British politics. For the first time in years, the left has a brand new party, led by Jeremy Corbyn and Zarah Sultana. It's unapologetically radical. They haven't said a lot about policies yet, but they have set out a frame within which the policies will be set. They talk about putting ordinary people back at the centre of power, not as a slogan, but focusing on the people who actually create wealth and who have the power to take it back. I love that they set the tone for a less discriminatory, more equal economics. They're unequivocal that the problems in our society are not caused by migrants or refugees. They're caused by an economic system that's rigged in favour of corporations and billionaires. This isn't just another Westminster project. They're promising a movement rooted in communities, trade unions and social movements, one that ordinary people can help shape. We'll have to see how this works in practice. It will be chaos if there's no power at the top. We do need Jeremy and Zarah to lead, I think, but I love this aspiration to have a real democracy in the party, a bottom-up economics. So what are the economic policies of this new political party likely to be? The manifesto will be decided collectively at the inaugural conference in the autumn. However, there is a short text on the new party's website which gives some initial ideas. Plus, Corbyn's agenda from when he was leader of the Labour Party is unlikely to have changed, so there are more ideas from that. We can also consider what Sultana might bring to the policies. Broadly speaking, this will be an agenda focusing on fairer distribution, public ownership and investment in the future. Here are 6 likely policies. 1. Bringing essential services, water, energy, rail and mail back into public hands. In addition, guaranteeing an NHS free of privatisation. 2. A rejection of austerity with significant investment in housing, green jobs and public infrastructure. They specifically mention a massive council house building programme. 3. Of course, it's a certainty that the new party's policies will include reversing welfare cuts such as the 2-child benefit cap, the winter fuel allowance reductions and the PIP restrictions. These are easy wins. 4. Shifting the tax burden towards the wealthiest individuals and corporations. Sultana has explicitly spoken in Parliament about wealth taxes on the super rich, equalising capital gains tax, a windfall tax on banks and ending the non-dom tax break. 5th, I think we can expect cuts to defence budgets with money redirected to welfare and public services. We can also expect to see economic policy more connected with foreign policy, for example opposing arms sales to Israel. For a pacifist like me, a reduction in arms spending would be very welcome. 6th, finally, perhaps we might also see Corbyn's previous idea of people's quantitative easing, creating money via the Bank of England to fund a national investment bank for housing, transport and green infrastructure. This is an interesting idea that's definitely worth exploring. All of this is music to the ears of the progressive left. There again, I have the feeling that this exciting new agenda won't be framed as ideologically driven, not as a nostalgia for old-style socialism. Rather, its focus will be a direct challenge to the profit-first model that has had such negative effects on so many people. Many of these policies are actually popular with the public generally, not just the traditional left. Consequently, I think it's possible to present these not as a radical policy platform, but as common sense measures to reverse austerity and rebuild public services. One other angle, I've been exploring spiritual ideas in my videos. In this regard, I found it interesting that the party states it is explicitly for people of all faiths and none. Inclusivity as it should be, but it's worth noting that Sultana is a practicing Muslim. She hasn't made her faith the centre of her politics, but she does say that it informs her values. That may make the movement more naturally open to a values-based or even spiritual conversation about economics, one that puts human dignity and moral responsibility alongside the technical policy detail, something I talk a lot about in my videos. Of course, the real test will be turning all of this vision into a credible, detailed programme. The inaugural conference will be key, setting the tone for whether this becomes a movement with clear economic priorities or a looser coalition that struggles to define itself. Bold ideas alone are not enough. They'll need to be costed, defended, and communicated in a way that cuts through decades of there is no alternative thinking. They really need to be sold to the public. So while the final shape of the Corbyn-Sultana programme will be decided collectively, the direction is already clear. Tax the very richest, bring essential services back into public hands, invest massively in housing and infrastructure, and root the party's politics in community power. I'm really hoping that they can turn this into a winning economic programme. It will be a challenge, but hopefully the time is right for these very reasonable ideas to gather some momentum. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing. I'd be really grateful for that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.